One of the more annoying things about city skylines is that buildings have only a single point of entrance for all kinds of vehicles, so resupply vehicles, police cars, ambulances, and so on. It is especially annoying for the big footprint Reco buildings that usually have only a single entrance, maybe not even inside of the model of the building, but somewhere close to the street. So if a resupply vehicle goes towards it, it probably just goes on the curb slightly, not even into the building, unloads the cargo and moves away. That obviously ruins your screenshots, your cinematics, or maybe just the immersion of the game, of your city that you carefully built, right? So in an ideal situation, you would like the cargo to just go, like in real life, to some kind of a unloading bay, which is usually at the back of these market buildings. Now, it's not really possible to do that in city skylines, or is it? Well, yeah, because now we have a mod that is doing exactly that. It's called the building spawn points, and it's absolutely amazing. So if you download it and if you enable it, then it's very easily accessible by just clicking this button right here, building spawn points, and you're going to be greeted with this window. The layout of the window is probably going to remind you of something because this mod was created by Max Sergey, who also is responsible for the intersection marking tools, for example. So the layout looks very, very similar, which is nice. And yeah, I was right. Look at that. This little dot in here is symbolizing the entrance to the buildings. And yeah, it's not even inside the building. Now, with this beautiful mod, you can change all this. So as you can see, we have all these vehicles in here, and where are they entering? So this one window represents this one point. Well, let's add another point, and now we can just put it at the back of this building. So when I created it, it spawned inside of the center, I suppose, of the footprint, and now I'm just going to change these values, the X and Z, and I'm going to move this node all the way to these gates at the back, and I'm also going to use this A window here, which is the orientation or angle, and going to rotate it. As you can see, this circle has this little line here, which is indicating the direction. So I obviously want to aim it towards the road, and that's it. That's literally it. Well, actually now I just need to add the vehicle type. I want the cargo trucks to go here, and I want to delete the cargo trucks to go to the front entrance. And that's it. That's absolutely it. And now we can have the resupply vehicles go to this market properly and realistically to the back of the building. This is absolutely amazing. This is a game changer. This is an absolute game changer to city skylines, and I'm going to be using this heavily in my cities. Let me show you exactly how. So this is a commercial area that I built some time ago, and it has a couple of problems. Yeah, sure, there are not enough workers, but that's not exactly relevant right now. Most importantly, it has the cargo problems because resupply vehicles cannot reach these buildings. Why? Well, I built all these pedestrian paths and I intentionally blocked all kinds of vehicle traffic on them because I just don't want to have them in here. But I provided this like a resupply road that goes to these backs of these buildings. But obviously in city skylines, the game doesn't really know that, right? And also these buildings, as you can see, they're highly customized. They are built from all these different modules of this one same looking commercial building, right? Now, most of these are facing the pedestrian paths, so no cargo at all. Some are facing these roads. So for example, I think this one already received cargo. Yeah, and as you can see, for example, this little resupply truck is trying to reach, I think, this building right here, but you know, it's just looking terrible. It's going through the bushes here, through the flowers, and it's just terrible. Now, this is a place that I can totally and completely fix with this new mod, and I'm just going to quickly show you what I mean by that. So let's just take a look at, for example, this building right here, okay? So this is the one that faces the pedestrian path, as you can see by this node. Well, what can I do? I can totally move this node absolutely freely everywhere I want it. And it doesn't even need to be that close to the original building. That's like the biggest selling point of this mod, that it doesn't even need to be in the original building. It doesn't even need to be close, as I'm going to show you later. So I'm going to fix this building. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to fix, for example, this one. By the way, there is a shortcut. I think Control P is it. It's probably changeable in the settings. Now, I'm also using the mouse scroll wheel, so this is very, very similar to change the values here. This is very similar to the intersection marking tool, for example, and you can also use, for example, Shift to move it with the increments of 10, which is, useful if you are moving it longer distances. Now, what I can do with all these buildings is I can just move the spawn points for the cargo trucks to exactly the same point. They don't even need to be different. So all of these buildings, they're obviously representing like one commercial building, which, it only just happened that I built it using all these smaller buildings, but I consider it to be like one big structure. It probably has some kind of a hallway running through the center, which would just distribute all the cargo into the individual shops. So it makes sense that there's like a central warehouse in the building somewhere at the back. I would probably just detail some kind of a loading bay here, and that would be the place where all the cargo would go to. So this is like the typical situation where this mod is going to be absolutely essential in my project, where I just don't want to have cargo or any kind of traffic to go in front of the buildings, but I do want to have pedestrians enter those buildings right there, because as you can see, these spawn points, I haven't really tested that, but there is no like a spawn point for pedestrians. So I assume that pedestrians are still going to go to the front entrance by default. Only the vehicle entrances are going to be changed. Similar situation with this bigger commercial building. Again, I have these pedestrian paths going right in front of it, but they have all the traffic blocked because I only want pedestrians to be there. And the building has a problem with not enough cargo. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click the building spawn points. Yeah, the spawn point is here right on the pedestrian path. I don't want that. So I'm just going to nicely move it all the way to this street. And there even is like some kind of entrance here on the side, like a side entrance. There's this wall, so maybe I'm just going to move the point somewhere like this. I'm going to orient it towards the road, and that's it. Now, you might also think that this might be a way to finally solve the issue of the cargo just moving super slowly into the cargo train stations, but sadly, there is no option to change that right now. Maybe in the future there will be, but right now, as you can see, when I click the cargo train station, there isn't even an option for cargo trucks. So sadly, no. Now, you can do some really crazy stuff with this. Like I said before, the spawn point doesn't even need to be close to the original building. So, for example, this factory building, I just tried that, and look at this. So the spawn point is, where is it? It's not in front of the building. It's not at the back. It's here. It's right on this road, some 400 meters away from the building. And look at this. If I click the building, show the traffic routes, then look at that. There are actually cargo vehicles that are going to go to that spawn point to resupply this building. That's absolutely crazy. Is there any limit to this distance? Well, let's maybe take a look at this building right here, which has, as you can see, the spawn point some 1800 meters away. Well, actually a lot more, because it's not just a straight line along the Z direction. It has the spawn point actually all the way here on this highway road, so across the river, very, very long distance away. And what's kind of interesting is that I changed that while vehicles were already moving towards the building, right? And they seem to still go to the building, but when they reach it, they are then going to go on a straight path towards that new spawn point. So that's exactly what these two trucks are going to try to do. So I suppose if we wait long enough, we will probably see them just cross the river. So I don't know, maybe even that could be somehow interesting to experiment with. But obviously, as the vehicles are going to, go to these buildings a couple more times, then, or when they are going to spawn, after you have done these changes, they should use the new spawn point and not do this crazy stuff, right? But this only shows that, yeah, look at that, that the possibilities are kind of endless. You really can do like a huge customization to all of your buildings. And You can even do, like, that was my biggest issue with, for example, these Miyagi Motors buildings. Like, the resupply vehicles were going to the fronts of the buildings, while the fronts are clearly just entrances to workers or some kind of administration, wing of these factories. So usually these kinds of huge factories have only like one big loading bay, right? And you can do that. You can easily do that. I can have the loading bays for all these 3 buildings somewhere, I don't know, on the side, maybe right here. I would just detail some kind of a gate, and all 3 buildings could share that point. It's absolutely amazing what you can do with this. Or this particular Miyagi Motors building has this cutout for the road that goes through it. So I might, for example, take all of these 4 industrial buildings and have the entrance point just somewhere inside of the building, right? So that I don't even need to see that, terrible animation of the trucks just unloading their cargo. So again, amazing. And by the way, the example of these trucks that were crossing the river to go to that new spawn point, it kind of showed me that the spawn point probably sticks to the ground, because this road is much lower than the original industrial building, and the trucks were clearly coming towards it down. So I suppose that this might be also useful, because you might have some kind of a building which might be higher or much lower than a road that you would like to use it for the resupplying, but the vehicles should still go to the same level as the road. So, that might be also interesting. And one last thing, you can also copy the settings for different buildings, just like in the intersection marking tools. The tools are pretty much the same, but in here you can also apply the settings to the same building. So for example, these 2 factories, they are the same. I could apply the settings by just clicking this button, and every single building in the city is going to receive that. I obviously don't want to do that, but if I had a building, for example, some markets, and I would clearly put the points on some loading bays that are already part of the model, then I would obviously do that. So that was the building spawn points mod and a couple of examples of what you can do in your cities. I'm probably going to spend a couple of hours just fixing the rest of my city, Aurelia and Altengrad, probably both, because there are just some buildings, some areas that I completely just accepted that they don't work because they don't have road entrances, or maybe they are just oriented poorly, so I don't want vehicles to go to them, so maybe I just converted them into procedural objects, did all these kinds of things. But right now I don't need to. I can just spawn or plop these functional buildings and change the spawn points so that they are going to fit all the infrastructure that's around it. This is just great. This is one of the most important mods that I have downloaded in like half a year, probably right after the Node controller recently. So hopefully, guys, you are going to use this mod as well to your advantage. You are going to fix your cities, make your cinematics look much better because of this, and I'm really glad that this mod is out there. Anyway, that is going to be all from this video. Thank you for watching, take care, and goodbye.